Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Undercurrent. I'm Christy Molliker, and this week is the very beginning of our second birthday celebrations here at WTV, and more about that throughout the show. Well, while street art is on the up and up here in Perth, it appears our art galleries aren't faring so well, with many of the smaller galleries feeling the need to close their doors for good.
Well, this year, it's funny enough, we are celebrating at 30 years, so we've been here 3 decades. We bought the property 1980, but the gallery has actually been going since 82. Funny enough, I never envisaged myself to be a gallery owner. In 1980, we had some happenings in the family and so on that made me really realise that if I was going to be a full-time artist, full-time sculptor, that I needed to have a bit of space. So this opportunity came to acquire 12 acres in Middle Swan here. Yeah, well, actually, I've designed it and I also made it, physically made it. So it's not just a trophy. I've been trying to sort of make them realise that it's original artwork, designed and made by a sculptor, and each one is signed. So it's actually authenticity of the work is that it's actually a sculpture, not just a doorstop award. You know what I mean? Most of my recognition hasn't come from local exposure. Most of my recognition has come from exhibiting in Paris, having been involved in symposium in South Korea a few months ago, New Caledonia, Japan, China, Beijing, and most recent commission through Hong Kong and Macau. So my survival has been from abroad rather than local. But again, it evolved, and funny enough, 30 years later, we are still surviving. A lot of galleries in Perth at the moment are going through a tough time, and we're no different. It's probably one of the toughest years that we've actually had in this business. There have been a number of changes, even just recently, as the government's changed the ruling on superannuation. A lot of institutions that used to collect young artists and so on are not buying because their budget's been cut, so there is no funding even to have a curator, full-time curator for a major institution. People just don't see the value of perhaps buying the artwork as they used to when there was some incentive as a superannuation or and also, as I said, donation to the institutions. And when you change the whole nature of the beast, well, then the galleries cannot survive. There are a lot of galleries in Perth just in the last 12 months. And major galleries are closing down, downsizing, and a lot of gallery owners at a certain age where they say, well, I can't do this, I can't afford to do this. And without mentioning gallery names, it's going to be sad to see, perhaps beginning of next year, how many galleries will be able to survive from perhaps some other income other than the gallery that it should support, it should run itself.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, here at WTV, we are very happy to be celebrating our second birthday as Perth's only local television station. And next up, we have another one of our fabulous regional stories. This time, we pay a visit to Narrogin to learn a whole lot more about the Regional Mental Health Service.
We're a primary mental health service. We provide free counselling and we work a lot on promotion of positive mental health. We do community education. We look at reducing stigma surrounding mental health in communities.
Most of my work is one-on-one counselling, and that can be delivered in Narrogin, where we're based, or we're mobile. So if I have clients who can't get to Narrogin, then I can go to my clients wherever they are.
We provide this service to 27 shires, which is about 75,500 square kilometres.
The kinds of stresses that can cause mental health issues vary somewhat out in the rural areas. For example, farming is a very big part of what we do in rural WA, and the stresses of farming are quite unique.
The financial situation in our rural and remote communities has been quite horrific over the past 5 seasons. We've had communities in our eastern wheat belt and Great Southern experience horrific drought. So we've been doing a lot of work with farmers and their families about how to cope during these horrific seasons.
Isolation is another problem. Lack of family supports, friend supports when people are isolated. I find that a lot with women who are experiencing postnatal depression, that those are the sorts of things that they lack.
So all these stresses in rural and remote communities, and there is quite limited access to services that can provide support. What we want to do is really look at reducing the suicide rates in our rural and remote communities, which are significantly higher than those in the metropolitan area. So we want to work to increase as many protective factors as we can.
Drumbeat program, which we give to schools free throughout the region, and we run about 15 of those a week. It's designed to be run over a school term and work with kids that generally don't fit in academically or with sport, and we include them through a drumming program. We teach them rhythms on the African drums, the djembe, and over the weeks, the first 6 weeks, we give each week a subject like relationships, harmony, identity, and we use the music and playing as part of a group as a metaphor for relationships and working well together with people.
My passion and belief is that a service like ours, which is multi-skilled, multi-layered, can play a very big role in preventing mental health illness.
Funding is our biggest inhibitor. I mean, we currently have quite a small team servicing a massive area. I would like to see my staff numbers tripled or quadrupled, because at the moment we actually can't keep up with the demand to our service.
Our aim is to let as many people know, with the hope that the government gets the message.
Well, here at WTV, we have been very proud for the last 2 years to be both the face and the voice of everyone here in Western Australia as our only true local TV station. But in order to keep our service on the air, we need your help. So to help celebrate our second birthday, we are calling on you to become a WTV VIP member. Now, for more information, log on to our website, wtvperth.com.au, or give us a call. And next up, we really get to hear your opinion when we take to the streets of Perth to see if you think parents are working far too longer hours these days.
Recently, a research showed that 1/3 of Australian children believe that their parents are spending too much time at work. We hear the streets of Perth to see what you think. Do you think your parents works too much?
They do to some extent.
Too much, yeah.
My parents worked full time, yep. Obviously, there was only time to spend with them on the weekends.
My dad does probably about more than 40 hours a week. He works really hard, so.
Do you think this can affect your family?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because when parents work longer hours, it's harder for them to look after their kids. So when the kids come home from school and the parents aren't there, who's going to look after them?
The kids are just staying neglected.
I think these days, like due to the cost of living and all that, both parents have to work harder now. So eventually, if like this cannot be balanced, then it might affect in the future.
I think a lot of families are suffering.
Because they don't get to spend as much quality time with their children.
People work like up to 12 to 15 hours a day. So if they have young kids, I know a lot of people have like babysitters and stuff. So I personally wouldn't like that as a child, to be looked after by someone else other than my parents.
The family wouldn't be as close as they should be.
My parents are separated. That was the reason that they got divorced, pretty much. My dad worked too much. He was never around.
Definitely a problem in Australia. Families should spend as much time together as they can.
Don't you forget about me. Don't you.
It seems that most of the people agree with the findings and feels that this can negatively affect the families. I am Fernanda Mizin, reporting for Undercurrent.
Look my way, never.
As always, you are never shy in telling us exactly what you think. And if you would like to have your say, you can join us in the city around about lunchtime every Tuesday. I'm Christy Molliker, more Undercurrent after the break.
Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.